Aboriginal songlines are still with us. BIRRARUNG Stories by Jim Poulter. When British settlement in Australia began in 1788, the colonists were essentially blind to Aboriginal technology. The manicured environment they saw had been carefully shaped by constant burning off, and it looked for all the world like an English gentleman's estate. This manicured appearance was simply assumed to be the natural state of affairs. These misapprehensions permeate our history books and continue to influence our thinking right up to the present day. So in this sense, we have been brought up to be virtually blind to many aspects of our Aboriginal heritage. It is the same situation with Aboriginal trade and travel routes, which are known as songlines. The reason they are called songlines is because landmarks, ecological features, and creation stories along each route were coded into a song. Aboriginal people had to learn hundreds of these songs that had verses patching into each other, thus enabling them to diverge at any given point onto a different trail and a different song. In other words, the song served the same function as the GPS in your car. These songlines crisscrossed the whole of Australia, with the most important travel routes covering many hundreds of kilometres. These major songlines were even coded celestially, so that the various landmarks were represented in the constellations. For instance, one such celestially coded songline goes 3,500 kilometres from Uluru in Central Australia to Byron Bay, the most easterly point of Australia. Now just pause and think about this for a minute. Why would people from Central Australia want to travel 3,500 kilometres to Byron Bay and vice versa? The answer is both simple and stunning. People from the Central Desert wanted to go to the far east coast to see the ocean and witness the local people working in cooperation with dolphins to catch fish. Every dolphin was known by name and responded to their name as they worked together to drive shoals of fish to the shore. Aboriginal people there would net the fish and share the catch evenly with the dolphins. On the other side of the ledger, people from the far east coast of Australia wanted to travel to the Central Desert to see the majestic Uluru for themselves. When settlers first arrived in Melbourne in 1835, they simply got on their horses and in their carts and started spreading out into the hinterland. They didn't blaze new tracks, but used the existing trails, which followed ridge lines, valley lines, and easy contours. Most settlers just didn't notice how these wide trails had been deliberately cleared of trees or undergrowth. The result was that these songlines very quickly became established as cart tracks. They were then progressively gravelled, bitumenised, and preserved as today's system of major roads in every capital city. So while Melbourne itself was established on a surveyed 1 mile by half-mile grid of north, south and east-west streets, all the meandering roads out of Melbourne were originally Aboriginal songlines. If you take an aerial view in your mind's eye, you can see all the main roads radiating out of Melbourne: Geelong Road, Ballarat Road, Calder Highway, Sydney Road, Plenty Road, Heidelberg Road, Maroondah Highway, Dandenong Road and Nepean Highway. These were all originally Aboriginal songlines, but are not recognised as such, and our kids at school are not taught this part of our heritage. It is quite easy to identify songlines, and Manningham has an abundance of them. For instance, High Street Q and Doncaster Road were a songline that started at Dights Falls. At Tunstall Square, it forked left to follow Old Warrandyte Road and then followed Tyndall's Road all the way down to Pound Bend. Tyndall's Road is a classic example of a songline because you can see for miles on either side as you drive along the ridgeline. Much of Heidelberg-Warrandyte Road was also a songline, with the route following the ridgeline past present-day Warrandyte High, but the original songline followed Melbourne Hill Road. With a little bit of thought, it is relatively easy to identify where the original route of a songline has been modified by cuttings and diversions. Shallow rapids areas were also often where a songline crossed a river, and coincidentally, this is usually where there were strong foundations for settlers to build bridges later. Warrandyte Bridge is no exception, with the road on the Nillumbik side splitting into Research Warrandyte Road and Kangaroo Ground Road songlines. Like Tyndall's Road, a trip along the Kangaroo Ground Road is well worthwhile. The 360-degree views from the ridgeline will make you feel like your eyes have been peeled, and you will see songlines forever after that. Perhaps local councils could show a bit of imagination and undertake the mapping of songline routes in each of their municipal areas. After all, these routes are essentially maintained in our present-day arterial road system.